day 7 of my honey advent, and today's honey is miel de melata, or melata de bosco, or honeydew. Now there are 2 types of honeydew, although actually there would be thousands of types of honeydew because of the way honeydew is made. Now the definition of honey is a substance that has come from bees collecting nectar from plants, or this is the exciting one, or the bees have collected the excretions from aphids who are drinking the honeydew from trees. So this is where trees, not only blossoming trees, but other trees are very important for bees, for honey, because the excretion that comes from the bees, from the aphids, is collected. It makes this sort of sticky, sweet substance which the bees collect and they make into honey. And it becomes this delicious, dark, liquid honey, really rich in minerals. So what I love when I'm talking to young kids about bees, and particularly boys, being a mother of sons, I know that to make history or biology interesting, you need the gory bits. So normal honey is really bee vomit. So it's where the bees are, they take up the nectar from the flowers and then they exchange it through a process called trophylactics, where they have their tongues and they swap bee to bee. Not very COVID friendly at the moment, but bee to bee, they actually exchange the honey or the nectar to sort of add all their enzymes, all their gut enzymes. So the other type of honey, this miel de bosco, is the honeydew honey, and this is made from the excretions of aphids. So it's aphid poo that bees turn into this magical honey. So tasting it. Now, this is an amazing honey, and it wasn't until I went to Bologna that I first experienced honeydew honey. Also, I had no idea that honey was made this way. So this is a fine example, and I actually bought this in Bologna one day after a day of studying. Laura and I were walking back. So Laura, who I talked about yesterday with her Scottish heather honey, we were walking back to the centre of Bologna from the research centre where we did our studying, and there was a market. Now I love markets, and the great thing about Italian markets, there's a good chance you're going to have a honey producer. So there was this chap there who'd been beekeeping 30-40 years, and he had his honeys, and I bought a selection of honey, so I'm going to share some of the other ones with you. And this is a honeydew honey. Now, he spoke no English, we spoke no Italian, but we had the most fabulous honey tasting session with him, and we were drawing pictures and describing things to try and understand what all the different varieties were. And what was really good about him was that he had single variety honey, so it wasn't just one honey that was summer honey or autumn honey. So he had this honey. Now, honeydew honey, you have got to taste it if ever you travel anywhere. It's a real European honey, and particularly in Eastern Europe you can get a lot of really good honeydew honeys because of all the forests. So wherever there are still forests, you can have the honeydew honey. So aromatically, it's a bit like burnt sugar, maybe coffee. Really rich, and it is very rich in minerals, so it is a very medicinal honey. And this is a liquid one, so I'm gonna it has a similar consistency to the cider honey. Do you remember where I could stand the spoon up, although you can't quite stand the spoon up? So I'm using silver spoons today, not plastic ones. But the taste, it is coffee. It's a really rich dark chocolate. It's molasses. That is the thing. It is molasses, and it feels as good for you as having a spoonful of molasses. Now, normally you will find the melata honey liquid and dark, but last year when I was on the honey sensory analysis, we also got taken on a tour by Raphael, one of our tutors, and he took us to, oh actually I'll show you, oh Finelli, there we go. So he took us to this beekeeper called, there we go, Finelli, and this was another established beekeeper, and so I've got some of their honey, which was actually called a multifloral honey. It's a mille fiore, excuse my Italian. So it's a multifloral honey, and yet when we tasted it, Raphael, our tutor, went, oh, this is a really fine example of a Melatta honey. So although it's summer wild flowers, clearly the bees had access to some aphids and the honeydew. Oh, hello Kat, brilliant to see you. So, how funny, I thought I'd put my scarf on today. So thank you very much. This came all the way from Singapore. So this has a very similar taste, and yet you've got this sweetness that comes from the flowers, and quite possibly the reason it's crystallized is because of the glucose content from the flowers it was mixed with. So it's not as runny as the other honeydew honey, but you've still got a similar taste, but then there's just this extra little note of sweetness, of flowers, of lemon, citrus, and so that's the slight difference. So there we go. Today's honey is honeydew. So you've learned a bit about how bees make honey, not just using a vomit process, but also using the poo of aphids. But isn't it wonderful? So when a tree is leaking this honeydew, the aphids suck it up, and the bees take the excrements from the aphids and turn it into magical honey. So much we didn't know about nature, and so much we can learn about nature just from tasting honey. So I hope that you get to find some good honeydew honey wherever you are. And I'll see you tomorrow, and I look forward to sharing tomorrow's wonderful honey. So thank you very much for